of your family and the bad character that family has.
The situation before you will give you a very huge testimony.
Giving less or zero attention to the negative aspect of your bloodline is to have a future that is punctured. Correct the bloodline. When we're talking about bloodline, we're talking about the family member, a group, over a generation. When we are talking about bloodline, we're talking about a lineage. Your bloodline and my bloodline is not the same. Although it is so pathetic that we are living in a generation where people don't even understand their bloodline. There are some of you seated here that the only name you can mention is that of your grandfather. If we ask you who gave birth to your father, you know. If we ask you who gave birth to the father that gave birth to your father, you don't know. Some of you know. If we ask you to mention 5 generations, can you? Can you mention your great-great-great-grandfather's name? And then your great-great-grandfather's name, and then your great-grandfather's name, and your grandfather's name, and your father's name? Do you know the blood you carry? Do you know what is in your bloodline? Do you know where you are coming from? Because the problem is, if where you are coming from is not clear, there is no way where you are going to can be ever clear. If you know where you are coming from, where you are going is no longer a problem. And if there are issues in front, you return back to where you are coming from. But in the case where you don't even know where you are coming from, how can you know where you are going? Abraham, and the Bible says this is the generation of Jesus Christ. Because the question is, how did Jesus become the son of David? The Bible needs to tell you why many times even the blind will address him in such manner. And Matthew began the analysis. And then he said, this is the generation of Jesus Christ. And then he began by telling you where Jesus came out from. He said, Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac begot Jacob. And Jacob begot Judah and his brethren. If we ask you, mention 4 or 5 generations of your bloodline, can you? If your bloodline is not in order, there is no way your life can be in order. Every bloodline has a positive aspect and a negative aspect. It is your duty to find out the negative aspect of your bloodline and to know the positive aspect of your bloodline so that you can balance it. Giving less or zero attention to the negative aspect of your bloodline is to have a future that is punctured. Your bloodline determines the joy of your life. If anything is wrong with your bloodline, then something will be wrong with your life because your life is in your blood. So how then can you live? How then can you carry on with life without knowing where you are coming from? If anything goes wrong with your bloodline, then everything is wrong with your life. And bloodline is also a channel that Satan uses to oppress and to place limitations on family. Bloodline is also a medium that the enemies uses to cripple great destinies and great stars. your bloodline is to have a confused tomorrow. Your bloodline determines your lifeline. When your bloodline is in order, your life is in order. So it is the duty of every man to know the negative aspects of their bloodline and the positive aspect of their bloodline. When we are talking about bloodline, we are talking about a certain characteristics, a certain manifestation that is common to that family, to that group of family. If we ask you what is common in your family, do you know? But yet, in Deuteronomy 23, verse 3 to 4, God speaking in his word, he said, an Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to their 10th generation. Shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever. And in verse 4, because the question is, what did they do? Why will God desert the Moabites? What was their offense? The problem of Moabite was in their bloodline. The problem was in their bloodline. The Bible said, because they met you not with bread and with water in the way, when ye come forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against the Balaam, the son of Beor, of Petor, of Mesopotamia, to cause thee. So the problem with the Moabite family is their character. Every family has character. Some of this character can be good, and some of this character can be dubious. You being a member of that family, do you know the character of your family? Do you know the good aspect of your family and the bad character that that family has? But the next question I'm going to ask is, who is Moab? Because the Moabite means the descendant of Moab. The question now is, I'll soon round off because we have a lot of things to do this morning. The question now is, who is Moab? The descendant of Moab is what you call the Moabites. And God has forbade the Moabite into his congregation. Let me show you who Moab is. In Genesis chapter 19, from verse 36 to 37. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. Lot happens to be Abraham's nephew. And then you remember the story clearly. When God called Abraham out of his father's house, Abraham took Lot along with him. Now we are looking at Lot. The Bible says Lot was so blessed because Abraham was blessed. Lot was blessed because of his association with Abraham. There are some persons that you can't do without them because your blessing is meant to come through them. While there are some that you don't need them because your lesson is meant to come through them. What made Lot was his association with Abraham. Anyone whose association do not bless you is a person that do not deserve your attention. Until the association blesses you, don't give attention to such association. Yet Lot was blessed because he was with Abraham. And the Bible says he became so great, and yet in sheep, in oxen, he waxed so great until the land could no longer curtail them. And he had so many servants, even as Abraham had so many servants. And one day there was a strife between the herdsmen of Abraham and the herdsmen of Lot. And Abraham came forth and said, there shouldn't be fighting among us. Let's settle this matter. Go one way and I take the other way. And the Bible says, and Lot lifted up his face and saw the land that was more greenish. And he chose the good place for himself and left the dry place for Abraham. And he went his way. That the land is green doesn't mean God is there.